This is America's Voice Live.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is by definition a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill, we got an armed cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Does feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. It is Friday, the 3rd of October, the year of our Lord 2025. As always, thank you for joining me here on Real America's Voice. We truly appreciate seeing you here on this Friday. We have a lot to get to, from the booming markets today to the Schumer shutdown, as well as anti-Semitism and crime. Let's dive right in today. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. The Schumer shutdown has entered day 3. The Democrats are holding the government hostage, all because of their America Last agenda. You see, the Democrats thought this would be detrimental for America. However, the market's reacting completely differently than I think they expected. U.S. equities are on the rise, with the Dow surpassing 47,000 earlier today for the first time ever, as Wall Street zeroed in on the promise of artificial intelligence, despite the ongoing government shutdown, which has postponed the release of the monthly jobs report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed by as much as 1.1%, pulling the broader market higher. The S&P added about 0.5%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ right now is flat for the day, weighed down by a drop in Tesla shares and Apple, too. All three indexes are on track to close the week at record highs, even though, as investors have largely struggled and shrugged off the early stages of the federal government shutdown, they don't seem to give it much credence. Here with me to discuss this is the founder and chairman of Sawchuck Wealth, Terry Sawchuck, as well as the founder and CEO of Kovar Capital, Taylor Kovar. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Terry, let me start with you. Look, there's mixed numbers out there from what I can tell, and here's what I mean by that. The jobs numbers have been weaker than people would like, but the new housing sales surged 20%. Interest rates are down. Inflation's still too high. A weak dollar. A lot to digest for the average guy out on the street. What's your knee-jerk reaction for today? What's your impression?
Yeah, I think, Steve, generally the economy is in better shape than what it's purported to be. I would say, there's a few things that are beneficial. One is, I don't know if you noticed, but oil prices are down to about $60 a barrel. That's just more recently. So that's going to trickle in and bring inflation down. The 10-year Treasury is back to 4.1%. So these are things that, reduce the friction when it comes to doing business on a day-to-day basis. And as long as unemployment doesn't drop massively, I think what we'll see is the market continue to push higher, although I will say we're in a seasonally weak period of time right now, so we could get a little chop over the next few weeks, but it's probably more buy the dip than it is anything else.
Yeah, as I look at other stocks here today, Apple came in disappointing, Taylor, but NVIDIA continues to have a pretty good 3 or 4 months. That stock doing well, and that's obviously it's one of the stocks that a lot of people hold. What do you see when you see the overall economy right now?
There we go. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people are voting with their wallets, right? So even though we don't have a lot of information because of the government shutdown, people are still feeling very bullish that what is happening is good in the long term. And obviously, we're seeing NVIDIA with their strong AI track record running full force. And so I think, it's anticipated that the markets are going to continue to climb. Now, I say that hesitantly because we don't know, right? We didn't get a jobs report today. So I think it's really time to be cautious with our money, but also optimistic and ready to move as the markets move.
Yeah, there are opportunities out there. Let's see what else is going on. Bitcoin surging today up to 122,000. Gold, not quite to the all-time high of 4,000, but it's right there, about to break 4,000. Looks like silver is at a place that has not been in years and years, Terry. I mean, every place I look, if you're invested in the markets, if you're invested in metals, if you're invested in cryptocurrency, a lot of upside today, but does it hold?
That's a good question. I would say, Steve, that much of this has to do with the fact that global liquidity is on the rise. So when you look at M2 in the United States and then you look at other global central banks, other countries are easing. They're dumping liquidity into the system, and it works until it doesn't. And these things can run away. When everyone's bullish is when you get a little bit nervous. Right now, there's a mixture. You've got certainly a lot of bullish people out there, but you've still got quite a few people that are talking about, rising unemployment and some other things. And so as long as that balance remains, what I'd be really cautious about is if we see unemployment get to around 5.5%, that's where the flows start to go from positive to negative. And the one thing I will say is that with the ODTEs, these 0 days to expiry options, they do a great job of compressing volatility on a short-term basis. But if we get into a place where you get outside the hedging, then the market could dump and could dump quickly. But I just don't think we're there yet.
Yeah. George Patton said, Taylor, if everybody's thinking the same thing, then somebody isn't thinking. I think that's the point that Terry just made there. If everybody's like, oh, time to get in, this is just going to go on forever. Look, October, historically speaking, has been a rough month for investments in America. A couple of things come to mind, 1929, 1987. But if everybody is thinking the same, everything this is going to go on forever, it's not. Obviously, these markets slow down, they cool off. But where are the opportunities, do you think?
Yeah, I still see a lot of opportunity, again, in the AI market. I think we're still very much on this AI bubble, right? So I see a lot of technology as an opportunity, as it kind of always is in FANG. But really, we see it across the board with the rate cuts that we just experienced, anticipated rate cuts coming on, hopefully at the beginning of the year. I think we're going to see some real estate movement, some REITs, and some companies that are really focused heavy in real estate see a surge. And so I've told people, hey, get your capital ready, be cautious, but let's stay optimistic and be ready to move.
Terry, let me ask about something. You mentioned oil being down at $60 in that neighborhood, West Texas Intermediate, for example. But energy. Chris Wright has done, I think, an outstanding job in the short time he's been the Secretary of Energy in this country, just opening up 13 million acres to coal development, believe it or not. We never thought we would have heard that 3 or 4 years ago, that's for sure. But in this AI rollout, obviously we need mass amounts of energy. China's been eating our lunch at that. What about the energy sector? What about oil? What about coal? What about that AI development that needs all that energy? How important is that to the economy?
I think it's really important in terms of, we need to make sure that we're out front. And I think we are on the AI side of things. We're still building out the infrastructure. And there's just the thing about the artificial intelligence space is that it's not just at the corporate level, but governments around the world are also going to join this race, and they're going to need compute. And so you're going to need energy for that. And so I think the Trump administration has done a good job working with David Sachs and others to try to get their head around the problem. And I think they'll do a good job of unleashing the energy piece, because I'll tell you the other thing I think about oil prices, Steve, is that, with oil at $60 a barrel, it makes it a lot harder for Putin and Russia to prosecute this war. And I think there's been a concerted effort to try to keep oil, as low as they possibly can to squeeze Russia financially. And it seems to be working, honestly.
Yeah, let me ask about this. I want to ask about the problems with Apple, Taylor. Apparently the iPhone 17, not as popular as they would have thought it was going to be. The new iPhone, they're making a folding model, apparently. $2,000. I'm sorry, I like my phone as much as the next guy, but $2,000 for a phone in my hand that's like an electronic tether. I think that maybe Apple priced themselves a little too, well, as my grandparents would have said, they got too big for their britches, potentially. Taylor, what do you make of that?
I agree. I think you have people in Silicon Valley who's not maybe really living in the real world, right? And what we see here on Main Street and in small towns across the United States, where people are really pinching their pennies, and to come out with a phone that is, double what people are expecting to pay, and without a major improvement or upgrade, I think is just super unrealistic. So it's not a surprise that the iPhone 17 has had dismal sales. Apple's a behemoth, but I think they really missed the mark on this one.
Yeah. Last question to you, Terry, because I'm sitting here looking at gold. It's just about to 3,900. And one of the reasons it is because governments are buying gold right now on the world market. 38.86. All-time records broken like 40 times already this year for gold. Weak dollar. What does that mean for the future? Is it something we should be concerned about? I've had some people tell me if they thought if gold broke $4,000, it's a very bad sign for the American economy and the dollar as we move into crypto and other things. Last word to you.
I would say that the dollar's probably gotten beaten up pretty good. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a reversal here. The things that we're doing, if the longer the government shutdown goes on, the more jobs that get cut, the better off it might be for the U.S. dollar. I think it's just a sign that, globally, we're rerouting some trade. We're changing our alliances. You got the BRICS out there that are trying to create an alternative, although I don't think it's going to work. In the end, it's a little bit of concern about just massive global government debts running away. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see gold in the long term push higher, but it's probably a little overbought in the short term.
Yeah. And on that topic, Joni Ernst, the senator from Iowa, just proposed $2 trillion in federal cuts while the Democrats are away. I think that would not hurt a lot of people's feelings. Terry Taylor, thank you for being here. You can look both of these gentlemen up online. If you have further questions, go ahead and check those guys out. Guys, thank you so much.
Good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate it. There you have it. All right. As we talked about yesterday, you probably knew this, Real America's Voice has partnered now with Angel Studios, a community-driven media company that creates and distributes uplifting and family-friendly entertainment, including films and shows with a focus on stories that amplify light and not darkness. And right now, they're sponsoring an event called the International Christian Visual Media Storytellers Conference, a collection of filmmakers who make Christian content and submit that content for consideration to the movie theaters. Pretty cool, right? Tonight, they're screening a movie called Zero AD, which will premiere December the 19th this year. Here with me to discuss this is Real America's Voice correspondent, Bo Davidson, who is at the event. And Bo was with us yesterday. Bo, again, this is quite an event. If you're tired of all the darkness that you find on your streaming platforms, there are alternatives now. The Little Angel Theater, movie theater, has become something much more powerful. It's pretty impressive to watch, isn't it?
Really is impressive, Steve. You think about how it's changed the industry as a whole, the whole notion of crowdfunding things. And then the Angel Guild, I think, has about 1.5 million members now, which I hope that our viewers will go join under angel.com/Rav. But to your point about Sound of Freedom and also Zero AD, for instance, same director. Tonight there's a screening for Zero AD. You mentioned at the top of the broadcast, in the year of our Lord. Let's go back. It was the year of our Lord. Jesus Christ is about to be born. And King Herod, here's the prophecy. He knows all about it, says a king is coming. What does he do? He goes to kill that king, all the boys under age 2. Interestingly enough, Jim Caviezel, who played the good guy, Jesus Christ, in Passion of the Christ, plays King Herod in this movie. He plays the bad guy, a lot of prosthesis on. But I just saw a screening of the trailer of it, and it is truly phenomenal. Alejandro Monteverde, who directed it, same director as Sound of Freedom, beautifully shot, I believe, over in the Sahara Desert. And I'm excited to see the movie. I think people are going to be really moved by it. That's how a lot of Jim Caviezel and Alejandro's movies are. It will come out in December, and the way to see a movie of this caliber is to join the Angel Guild. And also, Steve, at this ICVM conference that's happening right now, the next Sound of Freedom could be being pitched at this very moment. That's why there's this consortium of producers and filmmakers that get together. That type of content could be being pitched and sold and distributed this very moment.
Yeah, we were sitting here from the top of the program today talking about opportunities in the stock market. But for filmmakers, for storytellers, this presents new opportunities because for so long, Christian films or films of faith were basically boxed out. They were relegated to small dollar productions and B-run movies. Not anymore. Because of Angel, primarily, they broke through and said, look, Sound of Freedom, which got totally smeared, as you know, by the left, turned out to be a box office smash, and now they've got momentum, and now people have opportunities to tell stories that maybe would have been lost before. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, just to speak to that point, Netflix has an entire faith division. Why is that? I'd say Angel Studios. Why does Amazon Prime have its own faith division, working with John Irwin? House of David, #1 Prime series for the longest time, and is going to continue to proliferate more material. So you look at Prime, look at Netflix. They're listening. They know that there's money to be made, but more importantly, these stories that come from the heart, they amplify the light. Steve, you know this. We live in a dark world. We live in a dark time. It's important to amplify that light, and thank God for studios like Angel who are pushing the narrative and extending this type of content to all of our great viewers.
Yeah, they're listening to those plays, Bo, but they might be hearing, I'm not sure they're listening because of what the other programming is on some of those networks that you mentioned. Anyhow, Bo Davidson, always appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Enjoy the movie tonight.
Thank you. And angel.com/Rav. Go join the guild there, and you can become a premium member.
There you have it, angel.com/RAB. You heard it from Bo, and you heard it from me. All right, after the break, I'll discuss the importance of the Second Amendment and how there have been more armed civilians who have thwarted active shooters than anybody ever tells you. Details coming up.